Greetings folks, Dan here, and this isn't going to be your typical episode of KMR. In fact, this is a very special episode I'm doing for Rob and John over at Late Night at the Horror Hotel. Check them out, they're a great show along with reviews and even some they'll be doing for us over here at KMR. So for this video, I'll be tackling my favorite horror subgenre along with my favorite Romero Dead film, Day of the Dead. So let's get started, shall we? The film opens with a very interesting scene. Sarah, our main character, wakes up in a small room with no doors or windows and a calendar. She approaches the calendar and arms suddenly burst through the wall. Funny thing about this scene is that it sums up the entire film perfectly. It's short, but a great beginning to the movie. Anyhow, it all ends up being a dream, and Miss Sarah is out with several other military and non-military personnel flying over a city, listening for communications for any possible survivors. Of course, the brilliant idea is suggested that they touch down and use a bullhorn. That dumbass decision gets them nowhere, but we do get some decent zombie action. Cut to an underground bunker which acts as a base for our group. Having no luck on their mission, they are greeted by even more bad news. The passing of the previous in command, Major Cooper, which leaves Captain Rhodes in charge. More on that epicness later. Here, we learn in more detail how desperate the situation is. There are a handful of living people in this group, split between military, scientists, and what seem like civilians. They've had no contact with another living human outside of the group for quite some time. Relationships have deteriorated to practically nothing, to the point where they're almost constantly at one another's throats. Of course, this makes things all the more dandy, since the soldiers are there to look after the researchers while they look for a solution to the problem. Not to mention, to do the research they need specimens, so they keep a bunch of fucking deadheads corralled in the same bunker that they live in. Makes you wonder how these people actually sleep at night. Like any Romero Undead film, we are given a unique, albeit flawed cast of characters. Earlier I mentioned Sarah. She is one of the scientists and obviously our protagonist. Though she appears to be the typical strong female lead, it is really more of a front. As events progress, you can see her facade breaking down. Miguel, her lover of sorts, is quite the basket case. After a 24-hour mission with no sleep, he's on the verge of a mental breakdown. She really won the lottery with this guy. Next we have John and Bill, the helicopter pilot and communication expert. Both do their job and keep to themselves, though Bill has a habit of using this line a lot. Another bromance of sorts is between Private Steele and Private Rickles, a pair of racist, sexist, hateful military men who like to mess around with others through very unpleasant means. Alright, with most of the super relevant characters out of the way, gotta take some time with the characters that really steal the show. First up is one of the baddest of the bad guys, Captain Rhodes. He is such a badass, so much so that you would second guess even looking the guy in the eyes. But I'll let him establish how twisted he really is.
Sit down or so help me God, I'll have you shot.
You what?
I said, I'll have you shot.
Have you lost your mind?
No, ma'am. Have you? I just told you I was willing to kill you if you didn't get back in your chair. You didn't get back in your chair.
James Rolfe over at Cinemassacre.com even placed him at number 4 on his top 10 baddest bad guys. Moving right along to my personal favorite character, Dr. Logan, another scientist whose research has become a little misguided, to the point where he ends up training a zombie and he names it Bub. The doctor is very intelligent, but you can tell something isn't quite right about him. Sadly, Richard Liberty, the actor who played Logan, passed away in October of 2000. One last character, but before we do that, let's bring on the zombies.
Let's go, you dumb fucks! Get over here!
Tom Savini does an amazing job on the effects here. Big shocker there, right? The living impaired look fantastic, as well as the gore effects. The movie is unrated, which gives them room to have fun with the blood and guts. This all transitions over to the zombies as well, making for some interesting looking undead, specifically one toward the beginning of the film. On the topic of interesting, or at least memorable deadheads, I almost left one character out. Bub, an intelligent and very well-mannered fellow. Well, as far as zombies go anyway. He was trained by Dr. Logan over what I believe is an extended period of time. Sherman Howard does a very amazing job with the character and steals the show every time he is on camera. It's funny that he only has one line of dialogue in the entire film. A lot of Z film fans would consider Dawn of the Dead to be Romero's best work, and it's probably true, but Day of the Dead is very close and definitely worth looking into. Just be sure you're not offended by gore, excessive swearing, and racial slurs. A film of this quality deserves no less than a 5 out of 5. It's truly a classic.